There you go. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the June 3rd Scituate Conservation Commission meeting. A couple of quick things to read. This meeting is being held virtual as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. Number two, town of Scituate's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. So that said, we have an agenda for the evening. Does anyone have any additions or omissions or changes?
We got a long meeting, Frank.
I think I'm good. Okay, then I'd like to get started. Before we go to the first hearing, I just want to welcome Josh. Josh Baker is our new administrative assistant. What's the correct title?
I guess senior clerk or
Senior
conservation
clerk.
assistant.
And your clerk.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Josh, thanks very much for joining the team and look forward to many more meetings.
Happy to be
Appreciate it.
here.
Okay, number 7 Holmes Street. This was continued. Morse Engineering.
Yes, we got James Garfield here, and we did hear from the harbor master, and they sent us a new plan, which we can share, that shows a mitigation area for plantings.
Okay. James.
Yep, I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So yeah, just to add on to what Jen mentioned, this was presented to you guys at the last hearing. You had 2 items that you requested of us, one being a mitigation plan for the salt marsh area that's being altered with the proposed pilings of this dock. The pilings disturb approximately 3 square feet of area, and we're proposing 100 square feet of mitigation area. So we believe that should be sufficient. And then, like Jen said, the other outstanding item was awaiting harbor master comments, to which he had none and said that he was okay with the project. So I believe those were the only 2 outstanding items. So I'll pass it back to the commission for any comments.
Okay, thank you.
I just lost.
Jen, do you have any Smith?
It would be the same standard dock conditions that we normally do. Just a reminder, things like no storage of floats in the resource area, things like that. And otherwise, this one, I'm good.
Okay. Do we put on that no lights or no,
Yes.
like not lighting the alley, the walkway at least? I guess
Yes.
if there has to be some sort of navigation light, that's
one thing. But
Yeah, we do have something in there about no decorative lighting.
okay. All right. So Penny?
no, I don't have a question. We were just waiting for the harbor master.
Okay.
So all set.
Great. Brendan?
I believe I'm all set.
Eric?
Good, all set.
Okay. Anybody in the audience for this one? I don't see any hands come.
What about Jen Foley? Is she?
I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. How did I do
Harsh.
that? How did I do that?
It's fine. I know my place.
No, you don't.
I'm good.
All right.
Okay, so
Thank you, Jen. Sorry.
you ready for motion?
I am.
I make a motion, we close.
Second from Jen.
Jen Foley. All in favor, Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
19 Woodworth Lane. This was continued, Merrill Engineering.
Okay. Brendan Sullivan is here. I'm gonna unmute him. And
Brian, I think, is the contractor. He looks like he's got his hand up.
okay, unmuting him also. They just had a few changes to manage some of the comments they got from the Board of Health.
Okay.
Yep. So Brendan Sullivan from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. So yeah, as Jen said, from the Board of Health, I was unaware apparently that you can't have a wall within 15 feet of the property line. So we reconfigured the septic system in the same place, but reconfigured it just to grade out so there's no wall required along that property line. There is a wall required still between the septic system and the 50-foot buffer. So there's no grading out into the 50-foot buffer. We do have a DEP number, and I believe that was about it.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Jen Foley.
I think I'm all good on this.
Okay. Brendan,
I've got no questions.
Eric,
All good.
Penny.
Looks great. Thank you.
I forgot Jen Smith.
I don't have much else to add. We're need to have all other permits also, but that goes in all the orders.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Frank?
Do we have anybody in the audience with any additional comments, questions?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm good. I think we've gone through this. It was pretty much tying up those ends.
Yeah, they did
So
a good job of moving things around.
I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to close.
It's Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second
Second
that.
from Jen. Ooh, Brendan beat me.
Oh,
So quick.
Second from Brendan. All in favor? Jen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
moving.
oh.
So now we're at 181 Edward Foster Road.
Did Art show up?
I don't see him.
Oh, boy.
We have, I would really like to hear his comments though.
Yeah, John Zimmer.
Hold on.
I do
It-
see
it-
him.
Okay, can you
Can you?
unmute him? I'm scrolling
Yeah.
too quickly, I think. Okay. I
just-
think we'll start with Art giving his comments.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. Art Allen from Ecotech.
Just before you do start, who do we have representing on this one? Is this Adam and
Yep, I have Adam Brodsky unmuted also.
and
Thank you.
anybody from Grady?
Chair Snow, yes, this is Adam Brodsky. We have John Zimmer, our professional wetland scientist, and Rick Grady, our registered professional engineer.
Okay. If they could be unmuted too, that would be great.
Okay.
And I think would like to go to Art's report, and then you guys we can go on from there.
Great, thanks. Art Allen from Ecotech, peer review consultant for the commission. I'll refer to my peer review memo dated May 28th, 2024. And in that memo, I summarized my observations from being on site on March 29th of this year, and also discuss some of the history that I'm aware of for the site. During my site visit, there was extensive freshwater ponding to the north of the house, as well as saturated soils extending from the ponding area to the west of the house. I did several auger borings around the perimeters of the saturated and ponded areas and found hydric/wetland soils, and I included photos of the area and the soil cores. And also, I reviewed historical plans that were filed and approved with the commission from 2003 and 2007. I know one of those plans pertained to a Phragmites control and removal project, and then there was also some wetland restoration that was permitted. Both of those plans showed a wetland area to the north and west of the existing house. That wetland area is in the vicinity of where they're proposing the floodwater, stormwater storage area. In my opinion, and based on my observations and the historical plans, there's a complex of isolated freshwater wetlands on the site. It's basically an isolated vegetated wetland, and within that and appears to be an isolated land subject to flooding, but that would have to be verified through calculations of the ponding area. It's my understanding that the ponding area and potentially the area to the west of the house formerly was dominated by common reed Phragmites australis, which, as the commission's aware, is a non-native invasive species that was controlled through an approved project on the site. Appears to have been replaced by lawn with some mitigation plantings. But all this being said, given that there potentially are additional resource areas on the site, isolated land subject to flooding, at least under the Wetlands Protection Act, is stormwater storage, flood storage is permittable within isolated land subject to flooding, as long as there's no loss of flood storage within the isolated wetland. And it appears that they would be, providing additional storage in that area. So potentially the project, even with these resource areas, if they were properly identified, that the project could be permitted within that isolated land subject to flooding. And it may require a waiver under the bylaw to permit that, because I'm not aware of whether there's a specific provision allowing that type of work within isolated wetland under the wetland bylaw in Scituate. So that's a summary of my comments on the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I guess I'd go to the applicant. I'm not sure who wants to speak on that behalf.
Chair Snow, it's Adam Brodsky. At least let me begin and introduce some of the issues. As you know, I'm a local environmental and land use lawyer, and I represent the Whites, who are the applicants. And just to remind the commission, since our last hearing on May 6th, Grady Consulting, excuse me, has submitted additional information in response to questions from the agent and the commission, and that's dated May 17, 2024. And at the appropriate time, Rick is prepared to go through that additional information. We're very grateful that Mr. Allen has reviewed the site. We don't believe that the site contains isolated land subject to flooding, and I will ask Mr. Zimmer to speak to that issue. Although Mr. Allen didn't mention this in his presentation, his report indicates that he agrees that coastal bank is properly delineated And I know that was one of the concerns of the commission. With respect to IBW, I just have a few points, which is the commission may or may not remember that those historic plans were inaccurate in certain respects, identified bordering vegetated wetlands, didn't identify isolated vegetated wetlands, but the issue was resolved in 2015 when the commission issued its letter, and I have a copy if you want me to share it. It's March, I think, 31, 2015 letter, where it was agreed that the area shown on this plan as the restoration area, and you'll note that the note on the plan also references the March 31, 2015 letter. The March 2015 letter state that, quote, restoration of approximately 15,500 square feet of the isolated vegetated wetland located in the western portion of the property where Phragmites eradication has been successful. So I just want to point out that we had agreed in 2015, the commission had made a determination that the wetland on that side of the property was an isolated vegetated wetland, and it is delineated on the plan. With respect to the project area, we may disagree with Mr. Allen's delineation, but we're not looking for a fight here. We're looking for a resolution because we need this drainage project. And so to paraphrase what Mr. Allen said, if that portion of the site is indeed isolated vegetated wetland, it would meet the performance standard. And so that's been our position from the very beginning, regardless of whether this is IBW or something else, that this project meets the performance standard. So with that brief introduction, I'll ask perhaps, I don't know whether you want to hear from Mr. Grady first regarding the additional information, or whether you want to hear from Mr. Zimmer regarding isolated land subject to flooding.
Whichever one wants to go.
So Rick, do you want to speak to the additional information, please?
Sure, I can do that. Most of the comments were pretty straightforward. There were questions raised by Jennifer Smith. First of all, the coastal bank determination, we agreed with Jen and we moved that to elevation 10. So that has been updated on the plan. We had a contour line 5 that the way it was drafted was a little confusing and made it look as a proposed line. It is not proposed, it is existing. We revised the plan to make it match other existing contours. So we're not doing work with elevation 5. The VE zone was added to the plan as requested. There was a question about how much fill would be removed. There's about 161 cubic yards of material to be removed. There was a question as far as drainage calculations, and the project's not subject to stormwater management design calculations. The intention of the project is to mitigate existing flooding on site. Existing flow patterns will not be altered. So basically, we're increasing the flood storage capacity within that portion of the lawn. There was a question about the pervious surface for the surface for the driveway. There's an easement agreement that states that the driveway must be maintained as a hard surface. There was a question about the limits of vertical granite curb. The vertical granite curb is limited to the locus property and not the neighbor is aware of the proposed work. And yes, the neighbor is aware of the proposed work. The easement agreement allows for maintenance. We submitted a maintenance plan with the letter. A staging area was added to the site plan and a detail of the flagpole was provided. Be glad to answer any questions on those items, but I think they were all pretty straightforward and administrative in nature.
And Chair Snow, if there are no questions, I'd ask Mr. Zimmer to speak to the issue of isolated land subject to flooding, please.
Sure. This is John Zimmer, South River Environmental. The entire area where the flooding occurs is associated with the 100-year floodplain. So it is a coastal floodplain, which is functioning more as land subject to coastal storm flowage. The water that comes into that depressional area, not only it comes from the drainage from the driveway, but it also comes laterally from the east, from the adjacent property, which is associated with basically coastal overwash as well as over the coastal dune. So, while it is a depressional area, it appears to be more associated with land subject to coastal storm flowage than it does with isolated land subject to flooding. I do agree with Art that the area and the proposed project do provide for additional flood storage capacity. So there would be no, associated issues with diversion laterally or increased volume associated with flood events. So that was pretty much my assessment, is that the depressional area does hold water, but it is more associated with coastal storm events than it is with freshwater flooding or groundwater.
Okay, thank you, John. Do you want to speak to any of those comments?
Yeah, it's I mean, I know they're trying to mitigate, the freshwater runoff and flooding issue on the property. And I mean, yeah, yeah, that's an interesting semantic uh, little discussion, because yeah, I mean, I agree that it does lie within the coastal flood zone, but it's, I mean, when we observed it, it was holding freshwater runoff and we saw freshwater drainage going into it. So yeah, I've never seen a situation quite like this before. But again, I mean, semantics aside, I mean, obviously there are currently no state level standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage. I know the bylaw has standards, but I mean, in this case, regardless of what we call it, I mean, they're mitigating stormwater runoff, they're increasing flood storage. So, I think regardless of what we call the resource area, it's a permittable project, in my opinion.
Okay. And would there be any significance to labeling it one versus the other? That I'm not familiar with anything that would make a difference there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a complicated history and, and some kind of conflicting plan information. I think, I think this is a good plan, and I don't have a problem, given the background and what they're trying to accomplish. I don't have a problem, approving this plan as it's currently set up and labeled.
Okay, thank you. Jen Smith, you want to make any other comments?
Sure. I think that the question is whether you accept the plan as it is, accept the project as it is with this plan, or do you want a plan that has these other resources delineated on the plan? I feel like that's the decision to make tonight.
So what other, back up a little bit, what additional information would they've got the area delineated that was supposed to be a restoration project.
Supposed to be.
Well, they have it labeled on the plan,
right?
That it's a restoration area, which if that's good, that's one thing. It's just do you want that IVW? Do you want that flagged and put on the plan? Or do we accept it like this and then we can mention in our orders, language saying other resources, weren't reviewed, or whatever the language is, saying, we're accepting the bank and the dune only as far as what's delineated on the property.
But in the orders, there could be mentioned that there are additional resource areas or wetlands from previous, I don't know. Sure you can come up with some verbiage.
Well, it's just saying that we're not accepting anything else that's not on here.
Right.
But we're conditioning this plan.
Yeah, that makes, I mean, we've done this before. I guess, is there a reason that all that information is not on this plan, Adam?
Chair Snow, again, because the issues concerning the restoration area were resolved by that 2015 letter and are somewhat complicated. That's why we referred to the 2015 letter in the note for the restoration area. And with respect to the drainage structure, we have a somewhat dispute as to what that is. Regardless, if the commission found that it was isolated vegetated wetland, they put that in their orders, I believe that would be entitled to an order of conditions because, again, I think the experts are in agreement that that we meet the performance standards, and this will result in a better condition.
Okay. All right, let's keep moving here. Maybe Penny, do you want to?
Thanks. Yeah.
You've got the most history here,
Well, my issue, I don't have a problem with what they're proposing right now. I go back to 2015. I have a problem with the restoration area that was not restored properly. So I don't know where we go from there.
Well, this is where it's either we accept this plan or accept it how it is here, or do you want to have the resources labeled on it and have, that level of accuracy on the plan?
Chair Snow, it's Adam Brodsky. I just wanted to remind the commission that we have a certificate of compliance for the orders relating to that restoration area. So that was certified as being complete.
Yeah, but Adam, I think in fairness, what we agreed to at the time, there were additional plantings and whatnot that didn't take. And we've had multiple meetings out there with the whites. And this was supposed to be
meadow
and things. And eventually, because they couldn't, they said they couldn't get it to grow or whatever, it's essentially been reverted to a lawn, which is not what we agreed to.
Then the commission should not have issued certificates of compliance for that project.
This happened after.
This has been on, I think you're aware this has been ongoing. So
I'm going to respectfully disagree. The issues with respect to the restoration area were resolved by certificate of compliance. And
I'd like to see a certificate of compliance with that it's a lawn. I don't think that's accurate statement.
I will be happy to send to the commission the certificates of compliance. They're in the file.
We can have them, but I'm saying to you that this has been an ongoing moving project.
Again, I'd like to focus on the project before the commission. If the commission has any concerns regarding the restoration area, it's another subject which we're happy to address. I can provide the detailed history. It's not what's presently before the commission.
Well, and oftentimes the commission wouldn't entertain another project until one was resolved. But we're trying to figure out this situation because the whites are having these water issues.
Yes, sir.
Over other development and whatnot. So we're trying to work with the whites so that they can continue to move forward. But
and we're very grateful for that. And I just don't want to sound ungrateful, but I have a very firm view about the history of that restoration area, and I'm happy to let you focus on what's in front of you.
All right. Well, I think, Jen, then we will put into the orders the pieces that we think are appropriate. Well, let me keep going with members first, because it's really what I want to hear. Jen Foley.
Um, I I I would want any plan to whatever we need. It's so like I feel like I'm trying to
It's
be very
complicated and
specific.
it's been ongoing and multiple
Yeah,
member of you have not been through a lot of this project. Penny and I had that, and I think
yeah,
Richard had that experience.
yeah. I guess I'm wary of the site, and I would just want to ensure that um, Art Allen's comments and perspective are reflected accordingly.
Okay. And I think that's a good point that those could be incorporated into that. We can circle back if anybody's got any other questions. Brendan?
I'm going to just sign on to agree with what Jen just said.
Okay.
That's fine.
Eric?
I think given the nature of this project, this site, anything that we can do in the here and now to clear up any potential conflicts as we move forward, should be, I think we should address whatever we need to now to solidify what this site is, to relieve any potential contention should the whites come back with another future project, because it seems like, from my perspective, being new to the commission, that other unresolved issues are being brought to light now. And as a result, I think this is an opportunity the commission has to make sure that we identify any resource areas on the site, label them as such. If that means putting them on the plan, so be it. And just try and make sure that everything is as straightforward and straight as narrow as possible to eliminate confusion and potential conflict in the future. What that means, whether that's within the order of conditions and it's explicitly outlined as such, fine. Or if that means putting it on the plan, as things have been identified on the site through site analysis, then that should be the course of action we take. But I think just to isolate everyone, the applicant as well as the commission, everything should be daylit appropriately while we have the opportunity right now.
Got it. Okay. We haven't heard. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Maybe I'm going to try to summarize what we've just discussed. So I think Eric did a good job, though, of making it clear that there's a lot of history here, and we don't want that to just go under the rug, so to speak. And I want to make sure when we do the orders for this project that maybe we need to reference some of that, so that they continue to be part of this project. And I mean, it's up to the commission whether we think we have to. I guess it would be the opportunity to say, well, hold the phone until we resolve this of what's going to happen in this restoration area. We've had lots of discussion and debate over that, and how that would be handled. And we know that it's difficult to get rid of Phragmites and all that sort of thing. So,
Chair Snow, this is Adam Brodsky, and I truly believe that the Conservation Commission's recollection of the events concerning the restoration area is inaccurate. And I'm referring to a letter that I sent on July 24, 2020, that explains the history of the restoration. And the requests for COCs were actually filed in November 15, 2018. So here's the brief chronology, because I don't want there to be any suggestion that there are unresolved issues. I think there's a misrecollection of the facts. So 2014, the Whites proposed to maintain a portion of their lawn as typical lawn and replace a required vegetation mitigation plan that was approved in 2007. And you may remember that's the unreliable 2007 plan. As a result of that process, the commission issued its determination approving their request. And that's the March 31, 2015 letter referenced in the note. The Whites actually performed all of the work in strict compliance with the approval, as documented in a wetland restoration completion report dated October 9, 2015, submitted by ECR. And ECR opined in 2015 that the work complies with the approved restoration plan. So thereafter, on November 15, 2018, they submitted the request for COCs. And in that completion report, again, there was certification that the overall plant survival is greater than 75%. And by the way, the Whites replanted that area no fewer than 3 times to achieve the 75% plant viability. The Conservation Commission didn't act on those requests for COC until almost a year later, July 2020. And the Conservation Commission granted the COCs, confirming that the work had been performed. Unfortunately, with the passage of time, those trees did not survive, and we have reasons why they don't survive. The plantings did not survive, and there's no evidence of anything. So the work that was required in the restoration was certified as completed, but the plants didn't survive, and so therefore the restoration area issue has been resolved. You know, the quid pro quo for that was the regular mowing of the rest of the lawn, which has been done in compliance with those conditions. So
Adam, that's the part that puzzles me, because I don't think there's any orders of conditions that say that they should mow that lawn.
That was the quid pro quo. That's why we went through all of that effort in 2014 and 2015, so that they can mow the rest of the lawn. And that's reflected in the March 31, 2015 letter.
I think that what the commission agreed is that they could keep an elevated area, that they said that they couldn't let it go because the Phragmites would come back and the trees weren't growing. And I think that somewhere along the way, we agreed that if it was not maintained as a manicured lawn, but something slightly different than that, or significant enough to make it a different area. That's my recollection of being there. And so much time has gone by, I don't know. Maybe I can ask this question. And you have a note that reference March 31st, 15. Why doesn't this go back to 2007?
The original order, so the original order is SE 681687, SE 68 2001. The 2007 order had a vegetation mitigation plan that I think was proposed by Steve Ivis. That was replaced with the wetlands restoration proposal that was prepared by ECR. And then as part of that proposal, after the planting of the proposed saplings and shrubs, the area will continue to be mowed regularly to prevent colonization of new Phragmites growth. And that's contained in what we submitted, another detailed letter, December 11, 2014, which provides an even more detailed history. And then ultimately, that was all approved on March 31, 2015, and I can display that letter if you want. The proposal was one, what I read earlier, restoration of approximately 15,500 square feet of isolated vegetated wetland located in the western portion of the property. Two, after plantings of the saplings and shrubs, the area will continue to be mowed regularly to prevent colonization of new Phragmites growth. And that's what the Conservation Commission, that's the letter on your letterhead. And then there were additional conditions that the whites will achieve 75% plant viability within 2 growing seasons. And the existing lawn shall not be expanded, and the restoration plan shall include a scale. All of that work was done, which is why in 2020, you issued the COCs for those 2 outstanding orders.
So I'm wondering what can be added or omitted in this statement that you have in the middle of that restoration area to properly identify what should
not be touched.
So again, the active conditions are those contained in the March 31, 2015 letter from the commission. So that's why we referenced that letter.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, well, in our orders, can we reference as far back as 2007?
Well, I think you either maybe, but do you want anything specifically on the site plan? I mean, can we decide on that? Do we want any of these other possible resources to be delineated, flagged, on the plan? And or are we okay with that not happening and covering it in our orders? And then are you suggesting in the orders giving some instruction for the mitigation area, for the restoration area?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. So what additional lines either Rick or John Zimmer could be added that would identify all the areas that we're talking about?
I think it really comes down to the restoration area. I mean, that's really the other main resource within the site. I mean, the NEIVW in the northern portion is basically covered by the ILSF or coastal flood, depression within the coastal floodplain. I mean, and that's really, it seems that's what the commission's big concern is that restoration area and kind of ensuring that protection of it moving forward.
Thank you. All right. Are you still with us? Is Art Allen still?
Yeah, he is. I'm unmuting him.
I'm here.
Hey, so as our consultant, would you see any benefit in adding any additional delineation or markings from these prior projects and have them all be part of this plan? Or do you think we're okay? As long as these are all noted from prior projects.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the main point of contention is whether the restoration area was as it was proposed and approved, or if conditions have changed in there, since the COC was issued, which, would potentially constitute a violation of the orders of conditions. So, I mean, that could be addressed separately from this project. I mean, if the commission chose to take enforcement action to get a better result in the restoration area, I mean, that seems to be the main point of contention. I mean, they've identified the restoration area. The land subject to coastal storm flowage and the bank seems to be the main resource area in the stormwater area, which is the focus of this plan. But But it seems like, it seems like they've properly identified the restoration area. If the commission's not happy with the result, I mean, they could choose to, undertake some enforcement action on that separately.
I guess I'm not, we could banter that for a long time, and we've been out there multiple times, and I know the whites have spent a lot of money and not only trying to do the work, but in professional fees, legal fees as well. I'm just trying to make sure that nothing gets lost in this plan, in terms of different resource areas. Like someone wouldn't pick up this latest plan and say, I don't know. I guess if you looked at it and said this is a mitigation area, you would assume that that is protected or has some value. So I guess as long as the other projects are referenced in this, I don't know that we could do a lot. We'd gain from doing a lot more.
Right.
All right, one more
Yeah.
time. Anybody in the commission want to add anything to that?
Frank,
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe that you and I both remember things very differently than Adam, that the plants died. So as a last resort, we said, okay, let the grass grow. You can mow it once or twice a season. And that is not what happened. I remember that vividly, that they were not to let this go back to a manicured lawn. It is a manicured lawn, and it was not supposed to be done. So I just have a real hard time that I don't have a problem with the project today, but they didn't follow through properly on the last project. So I don't know why we're giving somebody permission to do another project until they do what was supposed to be done on that original restoration area of not mowing it as a manicured lawn, which it is. That's just,
Yeah, Chair Snow,
really bothers me, really bothers me.
this is Adam Brodsky, and Ms. Scott Pipes is correct. And if I confused the chronology, when the commission issued the COCs, the plants had achieved 75% viability for 2 growing seasons, which is why you issued the COCs.
Yeah.
Subsequently, some of those plants have died. I mean, there still are some of those plants there, but certainly less than what was done. But the point is that they actually complied with what they said they did. The commission certified that what they said was accurate, and subsequently we had additional plant death. But the March 31, 2015 letter, and I'm reading from it, quote, "This letter modifies the previously issued orders of conditions relating to these subject matters only." It said that authorized them they couldn't expand their lawn, but they could mow it regularly in order to keep down the Phragmites. And that's what was approved in 2015.
I didn't sign that letter.
Frank,
It's a letter from the chairman, Mr. Snow. That is correct.
Go ahead, Jen.
I just want to say it's been a little bit more than a half hour. So I'm wondering are we wanting to continue it because we want more information on the plan? Or do we have the information we need and we want to vote to close and then we can work on the orders? I mean, and those can be orders to approve it or orders to deny it. But if we want more on the plan, then we need to tell them that and continue.
Okay. I'm going to pull the commission in one second. Just one more question, either John or Rick. How is this detention area? Am I seeing a planting plan, or how do you plan to vegetate that?
Yeah, we're not proposing any vegetation on it. We're proposing rounded stones to match the beach cobbles that exist on the adjacent beach area.
So this whole depression is all going to be beach stone?
Correct.
Is there any cross section? Are you using any fabric or anything, or you're just excavating it and then I don't see any. I guess I see one slight one. So there's 3 inches of stone.
Sheet 2, we have a cross section of it on there.
Yeah.
We're excavating down to the good soil that we found, basically filling that with crushed stone, installing the leaching pits in a couple of beehive crates, and then covering it with a 12-inch thick layer of 3 to 5-inch beach stones.
Right.
We should have a layer of filter fabric around the outside edges of it. I thought we had that on the detail. But yes, we should have a layer of filter fabric around the perimeter.
So you're going to excavate down for 5 feet?
I'll double check that. Yes, approximately 5 feet.
And then you're going to fill that with crushed stone.
Correct.
And then put your beach stone on top of that.
Correct. Yeah, we want it to look like the adjacent area.
I see. Okay. All right. So let me just go back through the members because we're gonna. Well, let's make a motion to close and see where it goes.
Second the motion.
That's Jen Foley. All in favor. Penny?
No.
Brendan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Okay.
Was there one no in there?
Yeah,
And-
me.
Penny.
Okay.
So I asked for a motion, right?
You
Actually-
made the motion.
Well, I shouldn't make the motion. Somebody
know.
needs to
Oh.
make. Jen,
I
you wanna-
make the motion.
all right.
that-
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Brendan, all in favor. Eric
Yeah.
and Frank, yes. Sorry, Penny. So,
All right.
but what we're going to do, I think you've heard all the debate, and we're going to be real clear in these orders how we put this together, and then we may or may not want to circle back to that mitigation area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. 54 Marshall. This was continued. This is Morse Engineering.
Yes. Yeah. James Garfield is here with us. This was stormwater reviewed. We don't have our reviewer on the call, but I think all her comments were addressed. And I'll let James finish it.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. James Garfield with Morse Engineering representing the applicant here. This project was presented to you at the April 24th hearing and has since been peer reviewed, as Jen mentioned. The only significant change to the plan was we previously were proposing a set of drywall or 4 roof drywall chambers in the front yard, 4 in the backyard, and the front yard system has been replaced with a crushed stone trench. Beyond that, as Jen mentioned, the comments to our from what we've looked at, the comments have all been addressed. Horsley and Witten Group had a few suggested conditions in their review letter, and the applicant's more than happy to accommodate those. So with that, I'll turn it back to the commission for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Jen Smith?
Yes, one of her comments was just a reminder about what the commission feels about gravel being pervious or impervious. Our language in our stormwater is that it should be calculated as impervious, but regardless, they have a stormwater permit. It's just a parking area. It's not like a long driveway that a lot of cars are using. So as long as it's like a crushed stone drainable area, that was her other comment, to just make sure that was designed to be something that would drain and not be hard packed.
Okay. And we can put that into the orders.
Yes.
Okay. All right. For this one, Brendan,
I have nothing right now.
Jen Foley,
All good.
Penny,
I'm all set, thank you.
and Eric.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Have anybody in the audience?
I see no hands raised.
All right. I think I'm good with everything. Take a motion.
I make a motion to close.
Thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
All in favor, Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7173 Glades Road on June 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, to amend the order of conditions issued under DEP file number 68-2989 regarding the application of Robert Tremblay for work related to a septic repair at a dwelling at 71-73 Glades Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information, access, and meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
And again, we have James Garfield from Morse Engineering.
That's good. He's quick.
He's
So,
good. I like
again,
Jay.
James Garfield with Morse representing the applicant. This is a request to amend an order of conditions for a septic repair at 71-73 Glades Road. The order of conditions were issued for this one back in 2022. It was a plan for a septic repair. It was a mounded septic leaching field with retaining walls on all sides. And we're proposing to revise that septic system to eliminate the need for the retaining walls. We're proposing a hoot treatment tank. We're going to reuse the existing septic tank and convert it to a pump chamber, and then pump it up to the crushed stone leaching field. We believe the changes to be minor, as they're not increasing the limit or scope of proposed work or posing a detriment to the subject resource areas, being the buffer zone to a salt marsh and FEMA flood zone. This amendment's actually going to pull the leaching field 3 feet further from the salt marsh. Again, eliminates the need for retaining walls, allows the septic to be driven over, and does not require the removal of the existing septic tank. So with that, I will turn it back to the commission for comments.
Thank you. Jen Smith?
Nope, I am good. I hope that we close.
Okay. Jen Foley?
I'm good if Jen's good.
There we go. Brendan?
I have a long list of questions. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No questions.
All right. Eric?
Nope. Sounds like it's an overall improvement, especially with relation to the movement of the leaching field. So all good on my end.
Penny?
Oh, this looks great. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody in the audience?
I see no hands raised.
I'll make a motion to close. Oh, I'm sorry, Frank. Did you want to?
No, I think that you can make
Okay. I make a motion to close.
I second that.
Brendan, all in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Where are we now?
91 Oceanside.
Oceanside. So on June 3rd, 2024, at the 6 p.m. meeting, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws, and Section 32050, Town of Situate Stormwater Bylaw regarding the application of Rizzoli Family Revocable Trust for work related to an addition and renovations at a single-family home location 91 Oceanside Drive, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the posted on the town website.
Okay, so again, Morse Engineering, we have James Garfield. This one also being stormwater reviewed. We just got the first review back today, so hasn't been a chance for a formal response. And with that, I'll give it to James.
Yeah. So again, James Garfield with Morse Engineering representing the applicant. As Jen mentioned, I'm really here tonight to present this project, open it up to the commission for comments. We won't be able to close this tonight as we haven't had a chance to respond to the peer review yet. So just a quick summation. This is as Frank mentioned, in addition to a single family dwelling, as well as elevating that existing single family dwelling to bring it further into FEMA compliance. It'll be equipped with flood vents, and the first floor will be 2.4 feet above the flood zone. So resource areas of the site are the FEMA flood zone being AE elevation 15, and there's a 100-foot buffer to an off-site salt marsh. The site is 6,708 square feet in size, has frontage along Oceanside Drive to the northeast and 7th Avenue to the southeast. And the existing single-family home was built in approximately 1951. We're again proposing to elevate that dwelling on a FEMA-compliant foundation, adding flood vents. The proposed garage will be garage below with living space above. Let's see here. The existing gravel driveway is just going to be reconfigured to allow access into that new garage. And as far as stormwater goes, we're proposing 3 roof drywall chambers in the side yard, which will capture the runoff from that new roof area. Beyond that, we've got our erosion control barrier being a 12-inch mulch sock, which is lined around the entire limit of the property. So with that, I will give it back to the commission for any questions.
Thank you. Who wants to go first?
I'll
Jen.
go first.
Okay, Penny.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm just interested to see what the stormwater review was. Otherwise it looks good. I like the idea of getting it up and out of the ocean.
Okay. So Jen Foley.
Yeah. It based on what I feel, all overall sounds good. Based on I'm trying to look really closely at this. It does seem like maybe the existing driveway was not in the 50 and part of the new driveway is in the 50. Is that correct?
On site, that looks like that would be correct. It looks like the 50-foot buffer basically meets the start of where that existing drive is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the end of the world?
No.
No, but we don't want to see anything in the 50. So I think maybe there's a little bit of mitigation or something that we can do to kind of cover that, but otherwise, looks good so far.
Okay. Eric?
I don't believe I have anything at the moment.
Okay. Brendan?
So I did also notice that the driveway issue that Jen pointed out. And also a question on the garage. What's so the garage is underneath some addition? What's
So
the
the
flooring of the garage?
Yeah, so the garage will basically be at the basement slab elevation, more or less. And then the first floor of the house will just be above it.
Is there a slab there?
So there's a basement with a slab on grade, if I'm not mistaken, for the main house.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the whole house being elevated?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that it's not clear here, Brendan, but it looks to me like this house is going to be on a concrete foundation with breakaway panels. Is that, or flood vents? Actually, it does say that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they're gonna reuse the existing foundation and add flood vents. That's the top
Existing
note.
foundation. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. Who did I miss? Do we have anybody in the audience?
Yes, I do have one hand raised. I'm going to unmute Zach Kurland.
Good evening. And just want to state your name and address for the record, please.
So, Zach, you need to unmute on your end also.
Oh, sorry about that. I had a pop-up window. My name is Zach Kurland. I'm the abutter to Mark Frizzoli on this house at 17 7th Avenue. I guess the question that I have, and I'm wondering how this is being thought of, is with the proposed addition, which is coming considerably closer to our house, what is the mitigation plan for storm and runoff that will be coming off of this new addition and that much closer to our foundation and our house? And how is that being addressed?
Stormwater.
James?
Yep. So the stormwater system as designed currently, the roof area from that proposed addition, that's, as you mentioned, coming closer to your property. The gutters are going to capture the runoff from that impervious roof surface and direct it subsurface to a system of roof drywall chambers, which will infiltrate that water back into the groundwater.
I don't know if anybody can point it out to Mr. Curlin, but there's an area there. And then on the plan, it's kind of out of the picture, there's a detail of that infiltrator. It's sort of, yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna go down.
So what that is it's an they dig a large area out and then put this infiltrator in with crushed stone around it, and then the piping from the gutters goes into that, and it gets charged back into the groundwater as opposed to shed off onto the lawn.
And water would not be coming out of the surcharge pipe, and the Morse Engineering is fairly confident that water exceeding the gutters or coming off will not be creating adverse conditions for our property. Again, given the fact that this will be now, I can't remember if it's 20, 30, 40 feet closer to our property than the existing building at this point.
I'm just looking to see the size of this addition. James, is it 20 by?
I'm sorry. I believe it's 20 by 30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's 20 feet closer.
So it looks like, so it is going 20 foot closer to your property. Maybe I can just interject a little bit. So the reason that we have the stormwater piece in, Mr. Curlin, is to deal with issues like this when people want to expand. They're obviously taking an area that was grass or gravel or something that was pervious and then making it impervious and trying to find a way to get that water back into the ground. as opposed to having it shed off onto your property. And then maybe, James, you can just do the math, explain how that's sized.
Yeah, so this is sized based on the soil conditions out at the site, how well those soils infiltrate water. And it's basically that soil, and it's a factor based on how much impervious area we're adding. So there is a calculation that we could provide. It is provided in the stormwater report, basically stating how those were sized and how they are the at least the minimum required for said proposed impervious area.
And I guess circling back, we don't have to necessarily worry about water coming out the surcharge pipe. And the system is designed to be big enough to deal with this. But I guess a second question would be, 7th Avenue is very prone to flooding. We routinely get standing water in our backyard after major storm events and water on 7th Avenue. And is this infiltrator, will it pick up water that is not just coming off of the gutters, but obviously has no place to go down into pervious ground because there's now 20 feet more impervious foundation that's there?
So
go ahead, Frank.
This is all in the floodplain, correct?
It is.
Okay. So when you have an area, I mean, you're aware of it. We've in this between the overwash from the storms, whatever, a good deal of water is in here. That's why it's in while you're in the floodplain, flood district. So all that water is going into an area that is prone to flooding, etc. There's no way to actually calculate the difference of how that one area might change the water level around it. And this has been discussed multiple times. It's kind of like putting a grain of sand in a bathtub.
Yeah.
That amount of area is just not factorable in this sort of an area. The commission looks at things like is the applicant diverting water onto your property or somehow trying to keep it from flowing onto theirs and diverting it onto yours. We wouldn't condition something like that. But as far as the runoff, if they had a larger lot, they might not have to put this infiltrator in, but because of the area that they have for their home, this at least takes care of the water that would be onto that roof up to a certain, I don't know, what would a rain event be that this would exceed that capacity? Do you know?
I don't have that info in front of me right now, Frank.
But it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, we're talking 100-year storm event.
Right. So the applicant isn't obliged to deal with additional water coming that's always flooded this area. What they're obliged to do is deal with the water runoff from the proposed addition. That's what we have to make sure that they do. And then in this case, you've heard the commission members concern that there's a small corner of the driveway that's in the 50-foot setback area. Most of this area is all altered. I mean, there's a road between this driveway and the wetlands. So, I mean, the 50-foot setback runs almost up to the front of your house. Sometimes when we have an area that's inside the 50, we look for some mitigation or some additional planting or something that could offset that. It's a pretty insignificant area, but we can ask that they could vegetate a small corner or come up with some sort of plants or something that might help the habitat On the other side of this, I mean, I see that there's a vinyl fence that runs along the other side of the property. Does that fence go all the way to the property corner, or does it end?
I think it ends within a foot of the property line.
So it
I think
goes,
there's a patch of concrete at the corner of where the vinyl fence ends and where my property line begins.
okay. And then does that fence return between your property and their property?
That fence goes from Oceanside to where the property line is, and then goes up. It cuts off from Justin McLaughlin's house to Mark Frizzoli's house, and then
So it goes the other
cuts
way.
off.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So there's no fence between your property and the Frigoli.
Correct.
Okay.
There's just the downgrade of land. There's a slight veil or depression between the two houses.
Okay. James, there's a retaining wall that's shown
Thank you.
on 7th that goes partially into the new driveway. Is that retaining wall getting removed?
So the portion that would be, yeah, intersecting that gravel driveway would have to be removed.
Okay.
I mean, do we want more of that removed? Is there discussion of that?
I can't imagine. How tall is that? Does anybody know?
You give
How
me
tall-
just a second, I can look up the street view. Hold on.
Probably about calf level or maybe knee level. Maybe slightly smaller.
Huh. So I'm not sure that removing that would work. Would that retaining wall actually have to get?
So, Frank, it's about a foot in height, and honest, it's not retaining anything. It's just a stone wall.
Okay. It's off property. It's on the town.
Yeah.
I mean, is it function for anything? Is it more beneficial to leave it or just remove it?
To me, I don't know. I don't know if that was put in back in the day just to direct floodwaters away. I'm not sure. But to me, it seems like it serves no function currently.
Mr. Curlin, do you have any comment on that retaining wall?
I mean, anything that keeps floodwater in the street is probably more beneficial than not beneficial, I guess.
But it's just, does it move it on towards you as opposed to, I don't know, if it make changing that's going to benefit anybody.
I don't know. You know, this is the first time I've had to deal with a situation like this. You know,
Okay.
it's Mark and I have had a few conversations about this, and the overall plans of this. I've never having never had to do this. Obviously, I'm just concerned that with another 20 feet closer to us, there's a natural direction for water coming off being closer. But if what you're saying is that this storm drain system is what is sufficient, I suppose that answers the question. Obviously, when there's 100-year storm, which we've had a few of, it feels like in the past couple of years, plus astronomically high tides, 7th Avenue has flooded fairly significantly. And in the last storm that we had water right up to our garage, and underneath a couple of the properties that are around here. But I just don't know to what extent the addition will exacerbate that problem, and if there's any mitigation that can be done. I'm not looking to stop this, but I just want to make sure that my property is adequately protected, because I don't want to have to pay for foundation repairs or other issues down the road because additional floodwater and rainwater has come onto my property that wasn't there before.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm just trying to.
And that's why this stormwater piece was developed for the town with these smaller lots and tight areas or sloping properties or whatever. So the idea is that water coming off this proposed addition gets captured. If this was a brand new house in that area, they'd have to capture more of that water. but they're obliged to capture the water from the addition, which they do. And again, in terms of flooding from major events, overwash, things like that, it's almost negligible what they're doing there. I mean, that's just been discussed and part of regulations for a long time. So I think they've acted responsibly with this piece. I'm not sure that there's a lot more that they can add. And I don't know if, maybe leaving that retaining wall is somehow beneficial to you. Then I would hate to say take it out. I just don't know whether it really has much significance there.
Well, Frank, they have to continue for the stormwater review. Why don't we just take a drive by and see what we think?
Okay.
Before the next meeting.
If you'd like, I could share my screen too. I have the picture of it pulled up.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're good.
Well, I'll get the information to everybody what it looks like.
All right. So we're gonna continue this, I think, unless there's anybody else.
Yeah.
So what this means, Mr. Curlin, is we're just gonna continue this to a future date till the applicant gets in the additional information, and we'll take your thoughts in as well, and probably a few members will take a ride by and just scope out the project as well.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
When do we want to continue to, Jen?
That's do they want to go to June 17th or do they want to go to July 1?
I think we just received the letter today. We should have enough time to get the info over to you ASAP. I think June 17th is sufficient.
Okay. I'll make a
Sounds
motion
good.
to continue until June 17th. 91 Oceanside.
That's Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And Eric, all in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ew.
280 Central Ave on June 3rd, 2024, 6 p.m. Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Jonathan and Lisa Fabrizio, right? I hope I didn't say that too badly. For work related to elevating, moving location, and building new decks on piles for a single-family dwelling at location 280 Central Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the website. And the applicant is requesting a continuance
to July 1.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We continue 280 Central to July 1.
That's Penny. A second.
I'll second that.
That's Brendan. All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
And Eric?
Yes.
Thank you. So now we have, excuse me.
2 Ocean Ave.
Yep.
2 Ocean, do I have that to read? Yep, sorry. On June 3rd, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Jason Stefani for work related to building an addition and upgrading a septic for a single-family dwelling at location 2 Ocean Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meetings available on the website.
Okay, so another Morse Engineering, and we have James Garfield, and it's an addition of they're demoing their garage and then building a new garage, adding on to the addition. It was a septic, but I understand they now have sewer connection, so that's why there's a newer plan with no septic on it.
Where's the driveway?
Well,
So
Oh,
Go ahead,
I see.
let me let James
Yeah, no, I'm just
present.
talking.
So James Garfield with Morse Engineering representing the applicant. This is for a notice of intent for an addition and sewer connection. The property's approximately 10,000 square feet in size, has frontage along Ocean Avenue to the west, and is accessed via a shared driveway that comes off of Hatherley Road to the south. You'll notice that that is shown as a dashed line between houses 18 and 16 Gannett Road. If that's labeled correctly. So the resource area at this site is simply a FEMA flood zone AE elevation 16. We're proposing a 2-story addition and as well as garage addition, which will be built in FEMA compliance and equipped with flood vents. We're proposing to remove the existing detached garage, as well as proposing a new sewer connection to the town sewer in Hatherley Road. The existing driveway on site is going to be slightly reconfigured, but we are proposing no increase in the impervious driveway area. There's no change to the grading or drainage pattern at this site, and all works within previously disturbed areas that'll be stabilized post-construction. So with that, I will turn it to the commission for comments.
Okay, Jen.
I don't think I have any comments. He does have it labeled that it'll go to be lumen seated where the old garage was. And is there the limit of work is on here? So yeah, I think I'm good.
About Jen Foley.
Yeah, I think I'm good. This is very close by.
Yeah.
That's why you're on the hot seat.
See it. I have a live view at the site if anybody has questions.
Okay.
Okay. Penny?
No, I was just curious on the driveway and I found it. Thank you. It looks like a good project.
Brendan?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Eric?
I think I'm just a little confused on probably just an administrative note on this sheet. And hopefully not something more significant, but it's listed as Hatherley Road, but shouldn't it be Gannett Road listed?
Yeah, I realized that halfway through my presentation. I think that label just needs to be changed. That's Gannett Road.
Okay. Because I'm unfamiliar with what the sewer connections are. So I was like, I hope that's not tied into like a Hatherley specific connection for sewer, and that would impact something that may or may not be happening on Gannett Road as it relates to the septic. But I'm sure you've identified all that stuff, but I just wanted to clarify, at least on the sheet labeling.
Well, I'm glad you asked it because I kept trying to get orientated with that one.
Where Hatherley was.
I was looking at the little plan up at the top, and I'm like, yeah, that okay.
You asked the question, Eric. Good boy.
Okay. Do we have did I miss anybody?
Nope.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see anyone.
Okay. Make a motion.
And
Unless you have a question.
No, I was just so where is this new septic system?
So they're tying into sewer.
Okay.
We originally had filed a
on
plan
Hatherley Road.
Yeah, we originally had filed a plan with you for a septic repair as well, but the applicants obtained permission to tie into sewer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And do we have anybody in the audience on this?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second,
I'll second that, Brendan.
all in favor, Jen?
Yep.
And you're not in a butter, right?
Oh,
I didn't get a letter.
Okay.
surprised you didn't, huh?
I
Well,
am
you're
a
not,
little surprised.
but you're not in a butter. You're not a direct butter.
Okay.
Not a direct abutter.
Okay. I think you're fine.
Okay.
Okay. So Jen, yes. Brendan, you second it, right? Or something. And Eric?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We got everybody, right?
Frank.
And me, yes. Thanks,
Okay.
Penny.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Lot A, Booth Hill Road. This was continued from 5/6. The applicant's request.
Undetermined date. What do we do there?
Right. So we're going to continue it until we have new information.
That could be a year from now.
Well, they would like, yeah, they were asking for another site visit, and the reply was, we'll do another site visit when we have new information to review. Otherwise, the information we have, Art has reviewed and commented.
Yeah.
So it's whenever when they get us more information or new information, then we'll advertise it and we can talk about it.
Okay, we're gonna re-advertise it.
Yes, that's why it's to an unspecific date.
Undetermined.
Then we can re-advertise it.
Okay, so I make a motion, we continue it to a non-specific date.
To be determined, right?
To
Date
be
to be
determined.
determined.
Okay. So we have
Second that.
Yeah.
an all in favor. The second from Eric in favor, Jen?
Yep.
And Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay, thanks, Jen, for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we get a couple of RDAs on June 3rd, 2024 during the 6 p.m. meeting. Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Austin and Patricia Lynn for a determination of applicability, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to septic repair on a single-family dwelling at 329 Clap Road. Scituate abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access to meetings available on the website.
Again, James Garfield with Morse Engineering, representing the applicant for this RDA associated with a septic repair at 329 Clap Road. This is an existing 3-bedroom single-family dwelling with a failing Title V septic system located in the rear yard. The subject resource area is a bordering vegetated wetland located just off-site, shown here in blue. We've got our 50 and 100-foot setback shown red and green. We're proposing a new 1,500-gallon septic tank, 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and Presby Enviroseptic leaching field. The entire system lies within the 100-foot wetland setback, with all system components residing outside of the 50-foot wetland setback. There is some minor grading associated with the leaching field within the 50, but please note that that entire rear yard area is all currently maintained lawn area. There is no woodland located on the property. We're proposing an erosion control barrier down gradient of all of our proposed work. And I know it'll be a question, so just to address it now, the reason that we've got the septic pushed so far back is just as a grading and drainage preventative measure. If we push it much further back towards the back edge of that existing driveway, as you can see from the topography, the water comes flowing at a pretty good rate down that hill from Clap Road. And we just don't want to put a septic system right on the back edge of that driveway and dam up the water. So that was our reasoning behind that, as well as trying to keep the Title V setback of the 50-foot distance from the SAS to the BVW. So with that knowledge in hand, I'll pass it back to the commission for comments.
Thank you. Jen Smith?
Yep, that had been one of my questions about the location. And I think he also mentioned that they're not planning on removing any trees. I think there's a few trees kind of right around the system
Yeah, so
as
there's
it is.
a couple trees along I guess the left side lot line if you were standing on the street, and we're not proposing to remove any of those.
Okay. Brendan, this is right down the street.
It is. But my question has been answered, so I will say I have no additional questions.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah, the tree question certainly was top of the list. Glad that's been answered. I have nothing.
Okay. Jen?
Appreciate the preemptive.
Yeah.
Appreciate you giving us the rationale ahead of time on the septic placement, because it definitely would be a question for certain.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see no work in the 50, so like the limit of work to be out of that, but maybe there's some mitigation that we can.
All on, Jen. It's already
What?
lawn.
Well, it still doesn't mean that they couldn't plant a few trees.
Well, yeah. That would be lovely.
But again, appreciate you starting off with the rationalization for the placement. That's super helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody in the audience?
I don't see any questions.
Older retaining.
Okay. So James, I guess that's when we've just been talking about, where you do have a lot of the grading in the 50 to get that to work. And although I appreciate why you did it, it would be nice to have a little bit of mitigation for working in the 50, and where it's noted that this is all lawn. Is it feasible to get a couple of trees back in that back area of the yard or something like I don't know, somebody else might have, Eric or Brendan, Penny, Jen, anybody?
Yeah. No, I support that. And to Jen's point about going into the 50, some sort of mitigating measure would be nice. Whether or not the retaining wall is staying was a question I also had, and that could impact potentially the placement of trees depending on how water flows down that backside. Because obviously, with any mitigating, request that we add, we want it to be as successful as possible. So we just want to understand sort of the site as it will be when it's completed, just so then we understand that there's going to be success for any mitigating plantings that are included in the orders.
Well, and this is an RDA, just a reminder.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we can
Sure,
add
sure,
conditions,
sure. Right.
to allow for plantings so that they already have permission to do it.
Yep. Nope. Thanks for that reminder.
And just to speak really quick, we're not proposing any work to that retaining wall. The septic pipe and leaching field layout will be directly adjacent, but we don't want to disturb any more than we have to. So we plan to leave that retaining wall exactly where it stands today.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking for that area that's inside there where the wording proposed mulch stock, if we could, it could be, and to Jen's point, this isn't a notice of intent, so there are no orders, but I think we could request that a couple of trees, maybe some 3-inch, I don't know, Eric, maple, birch,
Yeah,
whatever.
something that could tolerate some more wet conditions, whether it's a Nyssa of some kind, birch, some sort of wetland tolerant plant that doesn't mind its feet getting wet.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable. If we want to, I don't know how it works with an RDA exactly with the lack of orders, but if the
You're gonna have
commission
to
would like,
swear to it personally.
but if the commission would like, I think 3 trees is totally reasonable in that rear lawn area.
Okay. Great. Yeah, why don't you just, if you can amend a plan or something like that, just
Okay.
add it to it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so
Make a motion for -3.
that's Penny.
Second
I'll
from
second that.
Jen.
Second from
Oh, a
Jen.
pizza.
All in favor, Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. On June 3rd, 2024, during the 6 p.m. meeting, Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Frederick Beauregard for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Situate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to installing an above-ground pool in a single-family dwelling at location 118 Tilden Road. Scituate, abutters, and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
And we have Derek, the homeowner, here to present.
Yeah, hi. Yep,
There
sorry.
you go. Yep.
Yep. Derek Beauregard, 118 Tilden Road. I'm feeling a little left out that I don't have Mr. Garfield representing me right now, but
Aw, he's
the
so nuts.
yeah, I think you kind of summed it up. The 24-foot above ground pool, and the current placement lies about 4 feet over the 100-foot buffer. So yeah, that's why I'm here today.
So it's between the house and the leaching system.
Yeah. It's, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's fine. See it?
And I do
Look at
think he's
that.
working with the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a permit going. They're just waiting for the outcome of this meeting.
Oh,
Okay. So Jen Smith, any comment?
Yeah, so how, like, you just have to dig out a little bit of an area to put the pool in? You might have put that
Yeah,
in your
so
description, but
yeah, so what they told me was it's 6 inches, and where the area that goes over that 100-foot buffer is on the lower end, so it wouldn't be any more than that. Closer to the house, it may be about a foot just because of just to make it level, but yeah, 6 inches, and I think they said a gravel stone dust type base.
Yep.
yep, no, other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Penny,
yeah, I like it.
Eric,
All set.
Brendan,
I have no questions.
Jen,
All good.
anybody in the audience?
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Okay. And you just know that any excavated material can't be dumped towards the wetlands or anything like that. It needs to be removed from
Correct.
the
Yep.
site. Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion for -3.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
You've got, yeah. By more than a
I know. Got me.
Jen,
I'm so lazy. Yep.
Eric.
Yeah.
And Frank, yes. Good luck with your pool.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
What else do we have here this evening?
We have a request for an extension for 37 Collier Road.
37 Collier.
So that's one. They've gotten an extension before. They're almost done. They're at a point where they need to do their surfacing for their driveway and a patio. So I'm thinking another, like, a 1-year extension would hopefully finish
They
it.
already had one. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Can I make a motion?
You sure can. Why did you even ask?
Well, every so often. I make a motion that we give a 1
Did
year.
anybody else want to discuss it? I'm sorry.
Okay, I
No.
I do have a question.
Okay.
I do have just Collier Road, not Ave, right? So this is road down near near like the Scituate Country Club, not
Correct.
mining
On
side.
Third Cliff.
This is on yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I
So
know that there was one property with public access issues. I just didn't know if that was this property or not, relative to the police getting in fire down that little alleyway close to the property that we looked at for enforcement earlier this year. I'm just trying to get my bearings, I
Yep.
think, is
So
just
this
really.
is next to that. The easement isn't on their property, but it goes right on their property line. And they did get an enforcement letter about some of the cobble from the revetment that had moved, and what they were doing with it. And so they were told that if there is storm cleanup that needs to be done, they need to call us and get a permit first. But you are correct. The easement that you're referring to is actually on their neighbor's property, but it runs up against the border of theirs.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks. I just wanted to, like I said, just get my bearings on the site.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
So
okay.
I made the motion for 37 to give them a 1-year extension.
Jen, do we have any other issue? That's the only other issue we have there at the moment, right? Is the materials that they moved around there.
Correct. So they haven't done their driveway or their patio. So the area right underneath of the house is not finished. They do want to make a change to their plan, but that'll be at a following meeting, a request to change the surface that they have right off the road. They want to put those pavers in that some of the other homes have for the little spot right off the road, but their orders are about to expire, so they need to tackle this first. But I don't think we have, I mean, anything else that's there is how it was supposed to be.
Okay.
They just need to extend so they can come back to us, Frank.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So I made the motion. Somebody want to second it?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
I think Brendan got that one. All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Eric, you can't be too nice about that. You got to jump right on it if you want.
Who
All right.
wants
What is the conditions?
Okay. I make a motion. Can I do them all together? Because they were all okay with me.
Okay.
All right. I make a motion. We accept the orders of condition as written for 71 Country Way, 89 of Rebecca Road, 74 and 74C Glades Road. That was an amendment. And 74B Glades Road amendment as written.
Okay, that's a
Unless
motion
somebody
from Penny.
has an issue with one.
I'm good with all of them.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'll second that.
Brendan, seconded. All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
And Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay. Certificates of compliance.
Yes, so 2 Rebecca Road is the one right on the corner of the split of Lighthouse and Rebecca that went up on piles, and everything underneath is dirt or sand. There's no other surface there.
There's not much else you can do there.
Right. But that's good that nothing else is there. And then the opposite 204 Central Ave is a dock.
Okay.
There's a few other CFCs, but I will tackle those and get them on a future agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it. We're
okay.
done.
Awesome. Anybody else? Anything to add? It's 2 minutes to 8.
Oh my God.
I thought would be to 9 with all that
I know.
done tonight. It
Well,
worked.
I do just want to acknowledge that there has been some ongoing conversation with stuff at Appleton, so things are still moving forward up there. There's been some discussion on some detail relative to some ADA compliance materials, rather than using compacted stone dust. There's been a suggestion from one of the town ADA compliance officers to consider a rubber tile pervious solution that is also being utilized in some of the playgrounds around town.
Yeah.
There needs to be some further discussion on subgrade material, as well as grading and ongoing maintenance. But I do think that that solution is better than the compacted stone dust, just because of immediate erosion issues, as that type of material tends to wash away before it sets, which will then lead to ongoing annual maintenance in those areas specifically. Then there's also some other ongoing work on site there as well, moving forward, a handful of volunteers. And for anyone that is interested, she did send out some information about a Friends of Appleton Field fish fry that's happening at the Methodist Church on Friday.
I think it happened.
There are, oh, that's right. No, that's this Friday. It's this Friday. It's the 7th, Frank.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So just happy to see that there's engagement. However, to the point that was made on site ahead of our workshop, I think that further engagement, especially considering people that live right next to it, as Brendan pointed out, don't know that things are going on there. So I think just further advertisement of the work going on there could be beneficial to the group that's already trying to make moves.
Okay.
Well, it's nice that they're willing to keep that up. I think that's a good idea. I was wondering myself how that would work. You have this nice field, and then you're going to introduce a bunch of hardback in different areas, and that makes a lot of sense if it's something that's compliant.
Yeah.
Well, it is. You just have to hope everything would grow up between it.
Yeah,
It
and that
is
was one of the things that I
issue.
pointed out to the suggestion is just, there's a weeding component, but there is also with compacted stone dust. And the maintenance issue, is focused on just individual tiles rather than entire areas or swaths that could get washed out. So I think that there's certainly a lot of potential benefit. And the discussion is that it would go down to the main gate, the big swing gate, in order to achieve compliance, because there would need to be connectivity between the parking area and the gate to the fenced off community garden space. So that would make that traversal a little bit easier to make compliant as well.
Eric, we can take up some more of this later so we don't go too long, but maybe that's a tough one. Where we have the gate there and where people can park and then get from the parking area to the garden.
Yeah.
Maybe we could spend a little time with Sally or whoever else is out there. We do have funds available to do that part of the work. So we need to think about that a little bit.
Because some of the CPA money is for the accessibility as well. So I would imagine that there is an allotment available to make sure that there's compliance with the work going on inside.
No, I think we have to, that's part of the deal with public monies, is there has to be, accessibility, and hadn't really thought about it a lot, but we have to get someone from that gate into the fenced in area. So it's a little bit more than just putting something within the fenced in area with elevated beds. They actually have to be able to get to that. And
right, and that's why verification on grade leading up too, because I don't think you can have more than a 3.5. I think it is. I don't remember what the ADA limit is, but we just have to verify what that approach grade is.
Yeah, maybe we can take a little bit more of a look at that with Sally and yourself and whoever else like to think about that. Because the other part is if they know what they want for raised beds, maybe the possibility of asking the vocational school if they could build some of those. But I need to get a little idea about what they want and try to get it emailed in like in the next week or so before the school shuts down for the summer. So we could get on their dance card sometime. Maybe we
I
could.
have to drop.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say bye.
Thank you, Jen.
Say hi to
Hey.
Eloise.
Oh God, I will. She's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Thanks.
it.
But yeah, we can certainly revisit that. I didn't want to dive too deep because there isn't too much yet, but she did mention something, I think, in the combined email to you and I, Frank, about getting a plan at some point. But again, that still remains ambiguous and it's just words in an email.
All right.
So we do need to get done.
I didn't respond to that. I appreciate you doing that. And I just made myself a note tomorrow. I'll try to at least get back with something so we can keep that moving. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. And Penny, how are things going at Mordecai Lincoln? Tell us again.
Until you get your little hiney out there, I don't want to talk to you. It is the most beautiful place I have been in this whole town. The second part of the trail is done. Oh, Eric, you got to see the second part. The meadow is just blooming away. Bees and butterflies and little birdies and squirrels trying to ambush me. It is beautiful. And I'm hoping to make 3 benches next week. I have the legs. Ed and his crew cut me 6 legs, 2 for each. I'm going to use tree trunks for that and get 3 planks and bolt them down and bury the legs a foot in the ground. And I'm very, very, very excited. It is just absolutely gorgeous out there. Oh, and we had our first launch over the weekend at the kayak launch.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and Penny.
Yes.
I think the width of the path is great. I
Yeah,
think we
no,
just
the
leave it
more we
as
look
it
at it,
is.
it's yeah, that you can walk next to somebody if you can't get out there. But anyways, it's moving forward and I'll give a better update next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you all.
But
Anybody
it's
else?
beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous out there.
Well, Josh didn't leave during the meeting, so we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, Josh. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It's the most important one.
I will second that.
From Brendan, all in favor. Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Good thing we had a quorum. Would still be here all night. All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Come to Mordecai Lincoln.